I'd like to call the May 2021 Poquoson School Board meeting to order. And first up is Pledge and Inspirational Reading. Cassidy.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. This year has been anything but ordinary. Being isolated and learning on our own from the other end of a screen has been one of the biggest challenges of our lives. It's so easy to look at this terrible situation and to only see the bad. But if you're willing to delve further than the surface, you can find some good. This year has taught us resilience, grit, and has reminded us to recognize the simple privileges that we too often took for granted. Just last month, the entire junior class took the writing SOL, and the very knowledge that we were all together again, even if just in silence to take an exam, gave me hope. In the past, we didn't recognize how special seemingly ordinary instances could be, but we've evolved, and I know we can move forward with full hearts and minds in the future. Humbling at best, we made it through. The world is beginning to ascend to some sense of normalcy, and I know how anxiously we've all been awaiting its arrival. But don't forget what we went through and what it taught us. Keep moving forward with these lessons in your mind and let them guide you for your future endeavors. This pandemic changed the world, and it changed us. We aren't the same people we were when it started, and that's okay, because we are stronger, smarter, and more appreciative of our time and our energy. So let's enjoy every moment, every laugh, every hug, and let's move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Cassidy. I have honestly enjoyed your inspirational readings this year, so I really appreciate that. Thank you. Next, we have a video presentation for third grade writing.
to releasing international habitat for the river. Now let's look at that. I hope you've never seen alligators in that way.
Me versus the alligator. I'm from Seattle, which is a great town, but personally, I didn't know we kept an alligator in the White House bathroom when he was the sixth president of the United States. If I walked into the bathroom and saw an alligator, I would be scared, like frightened. I may even pass out. I would run down to President Adams and say, "You know you have an alligator in your bathroom." I recently learned from Skip Johnson and my teacher in psychology that many presidents have exotic pets. I guess you learn something new and interesting every day. I'm not sure how someone could live with an alligator in their bathroom.
That was very well done. Thank you. Any additions or modifications to the agenda?
No, sir, we do not.
Thank you. And recognitions, we'll start with Poquoson High School Senior of the Month.
The May Senior of the Month is Summer Holder. Summer is a lovely young lady who will attend James Madison University in the fall to major in health sciences. After completing her undergraduate degree, she would like to pursue a master's degree in the area of physical therapy. Summer has been an active member of the Lady Islanders softball team, as well as the boys varsity basketball manager. She is a member of the National Honor Society and the Spanish Honor Society. Congratulations to Summer Holder, PHS, May Senior of the Month.
Congratulations, Summer. And next is the PHS Varsity Field Hockey Team recognition. And next is recognition of our outgoing school board student representative, Cassidy, if you would like to meet me.
Well, when you're looking for the perfect candidate for just about any position, there are certain qualities that are most desired. Smart, athletic, talented, well-spoken, strong leadership skills, good problem-solving abilities, level-headed and likable are a few that come to mind. Cassidy Spakes is one of those rare individuals that somehow manages to check all those boxes. As a governor's school student, she's maintained a 4.3 GPA while taking 2 advanced placement courses, a 4th year of French, an extra 8th grade class in order to maintain her involvement in the choir. Her efforts have earned her a place in Mu Alpha Theta Math Honor Society and the French Honor Society, and she's been a member of the high school cross-country and track teams since she was in 8th grade and currently serves as captain of both. She has a beautiful singing voice and lends her talents to the Poquoson High School show choir, where she serves as a dance captain, as well as the theater department. Her dedication to the arts has earned her spots in the International Thespian Society and the Tri-M Music Honor Society. Cassidy has further demonstrated her leadership skills and public speaking abilities as our student representative to the school board and as both a member and officer of the Student Council Association. Additionally, Cassidy is a genuinely kind young woman who is always polite, well-mannered, and greets everyone with a smile. She is well respected by students and staff alike, and there is no doubt whatsoever that she will continue to make Poquoson community proud long after she moves on to pursue her dreams.
Next is presentations and reports, and we'll start with Mr. Phillip for the pilot COVID-19 testing program.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board, Poquoson family. Great to be here tonight to talk with you a little bit about an exciting pilot program. But before I do want to personally thank you, Cassidy. It's been a pleasure having you serve on our board this year. You are an absolute superstar, so great to have you, and we're going to miss you. This is an exciting opportunity for Poquoson. We applied a few months ago to a grant pilot program with the VDOE and the VDH to be a test case for rapid COVID testing in our buildings through our school nursing program. It was recommended as one of the, if you remember in one of the recent presentations a few months ago, as one of the major tools for preventing the spread of the virus by the CDC and the Virginia Department of Health and the World Health Organizations to be able to test quickly and find out if you had cases in your school community. This is, again, funded by a grant. It's free of charge to Poquoson schools. It's voluntary for students and staff. We're only going to be testing unvaccinated individuals. So anybody who's vaccinated where there's a possible exposure, those folks don't have to quarantine, and we'll talk about that a little later. And it provides a free and convenient service to families. This could be, there's some talk that this could be extended into next school year. And maybe widespread around the state of Virginia. But right now, there are a few test sites that are just trying this out. My guess is we'll see few cases. We might have a handful between now and the next 30 days of school. It works very simply. It's a non-invasive test. It's a quick nasal swab. It's produced by Abbott Laboratories, and it's an antigen test kit. We get the results back in about 15 minutes, and even older students can administer the test themselves with the nurse watching. There are two paths for this pilot program. One path is diagnostic, and that's if a student comes to the nurse, is at school one day, and has symptoms of COVID. The nurse thinks this could possibly be a COVID case. What we would ordinarily do is we would immediately contact the parents and we'd send that child home. And that child would go to the doctor and get tested. This gives the family an option to do this quick swab right there in our presence, and 15 minutes later have a possible diagnosis. We would still send the student, if positive, to their doctor for treatment. But this would give us a quick result, and then allowing us to then move forward with what we would do in that case ordinarily with a positive test. The other possible tool is a screening program where you would screen certain groups of asymptomatic children. You could do a class set, you could do a group of athletes, which is where we were having some conversations about. Let's say you wanted to, on a random basis, screen the field hockey team or the football team. And then you run a quick 15-minute test to all those, and then you see if there's any positive results. Because if you did find a positive, you could prevent that spread from happening very quickly from just having the knowledge of COVID's presence on the football team. We have had conversations with our athletic department over at Poquoson High and have decided, since we're down to the wire, we're really only a little less than 3 weeks left in this season, we probably won't interrupt the program, the athletic program, this year with the screening part of this. So this is an option that we have, and moving forward into next year, if this is something we want to continue, we will have this option to pursue the screening part of this. But we've decided through consulting with our athletic department that right now, because of the timing, we're going to just put that on the back burner for the rest of this school year. But we will be doing the diagnostic. Our nurses were trained and equipped and ready to go as of last week. And so if a case presents sometime in the next, believe it or not, 16 days of school left, we would give that option to the parent of the child. Would you like a quick rapid test that we can do right here on our site? Questions? It's a quick presentation.
I do have a few questions. And you might have kind of quasi-answered this. So if the nurse does feel like there's a diagnostic screening needed, are they going to make a phone call to the parents? Okay. Because I guess thinking long-term, if we decide to do this, if you decide to do it next year, right, maybe you get a consent on file so that they don't have to make a phone call. They can automatically screen and then make a phone call while we're waiting for the result.
Very good point. That's a very good point. We certainly could do that. It does require a document signed, even if the parent comes to our site. We would have a document, so we would have in our records consent for that test. I don't know which one of you first. Yeah.
So the diagnosis, is it stored on our systems and is it shared with the doctor? How does that?
Only shared with the parent, and then the parent would then move forward. If it's a negative test, of course, that's the end of the story. If it's a positive test, they would move forward with consulting their physician, and we would go into quarantine mode with that child.
Word of mouth, there's no data stored in our systems or
I don't. Do we keep? I'm looking at Ashley. She facilitates this program for us.
Sure. Yeah, it is reported as a requirement for participation. It's reported through a portal that was received by the Department of Health.
Okay, so no data, no diagnosis is stored on any of the school systems, right?
No, if we do have a positive case, it would be tracked the same way that any of our cases are currently tracked, but the difference being that that information is being provided to us as opposed to us being the seekers of it.
My concern is HIPAA.
Gotcha. Yeah, we
violations,
would,
like that.
and this has been vetted through all of the agencies. Virginia Department of Health. Matter of fact, they were part of the original group seeking this grant money. It's come as grants through the federal government to issue these pilots, and so they have certainly checked all the HIPAA boxes to make sure that we're complying with HIPAA regulations.
Months ago, there was a belief, and I'm sure Abbott, to get to this point with those kits, that these rapid tests had a ton of inefficiencies or false positives. Do we have any statistics on the cases that are viewed as a false positive and things of that nature?
Very good point, and we've part of this pilot covers that if there's a positive test, we will then insist on a PCR test to confirm, because there is some errors and omissions in the rapid test. We have even seen ourselves when families get rapid tests that often there are some errors. So we will pursue a PCR test, the more thorough test, But this gives us an indication and can let us get that child out of the mainstream of our schools pretty quickly so that that process can happen. And we treat it as, of course, a positive test because we have a positive test while we're waiting on those second opinion of results.
Those students in that classroom with that result, right, and go into a quarantine phase until we got the PCR test?
Which is what we've done
Does
anyway.
that count?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've been doing, nothing really changes in our procedures. The only thing that changes is what, in that case, when there's a suspicion of COVID, we would go through the same process. We would send the child home. We would then go through and notify families that there's a possible exposure. Anyone who's been within 6 feet of this person for 15 minutes collectively, we would go through that same process. All this does is gives the family a free, quick, expedited result that as a convenience really is all it does. It doesn't really change our procedures about quarantining. We've operated, as you know, all year out of an abundance of caution. If there's a possible exposure, we then quarantine until we confirm that. And a lot of times it's it's not a positive case. The results come back negative. But what we have done is we've prevented that from spreading in the event it was a positive case. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
John?
So if someone, a student does test positive, do we have a plan in place to quarantine them, until their parents or whoever is there?
Yes, we do. We have spaces in our buildings for isolation for that very purpose and have used those. We've had cases this year where students have been symptomatic at school, and we use our quarantine space in the building while we're waiting for the parent to pick the child up, and then we go through the contact tracing process immediately. Unfortunately, we've had to get pretty good at it because we've had enough of those cases. But what it has done is prevented spread and outbreaks in our schools, because we're at 63, I think, if I'm off the top of my head, somewhere 62 positive cases of COVID by any of our students or staff since August of last year, which is phenomenal. And I think, and I've said it over, and y'all heard me say it, probably tired of hearing me say it, I think in large part it's because of this abundance of caution and contact tracing that we've done. This just gives, again, another tool to rapidly get information for our families. So we're excited about it. Came, in the 11th hour, so we're down in the short rows now, but we possibly will have a case or two. I don't think it'll be many between now and the 18th, 17th of June. Now I'm going to try to clean up or clear up any confusion about the new governor's executive order issued on Friday afternoon. You will be more confused after I finish. This, as you know, is an updated, it's the 7th amendment to Executive Order number 72, since it was issued earlier this year. It is a lengthy order with a lot of COVID mitigation strategies, ones that you can all probably quote because we've been following those for many months now. This order came, of course, in response to the new CDC guidance that came out last week, predominantly related to vaccinated individuals in the United States. This order was amended by the governor on Friday afternoon and went into effect on Saturday, this past Saturday. Most of this order, and I've just lifted this exactly from the governor's amended order on his website, pertains to the change of the word must to should. It's a lot of words, but only one changed. So the governor's order now for vaccinated people is that you should wear a mask, but you are not required to wear a mask, inside or outside. Now, with that order, there was several caveats or exceptions to that, and one of those exceptions pertains to private and public schools in the state of Virginia for all students, teachers, staff, and visitors the word must still exists in the order. So all of our work in our schools and on our property will continue with the mask mandate by the executive order. We've had a lot of questions about that since it came out, and different states are responding to the CDC guidance in different ways. But of course, as you know, we must follow the executive order of the governor. And for the remainder of this school year, the next 16 school days, we will have to require our students, staff, and visitors to wear a mask while on our property. Now, there's a couple of, again, exceptions that actually were not clear from the executive order. So if you read it in detail, and I've read it multiple times over the last few days, we did get, as late as this afternoon, some clarification in a frequently asked questions document that was shared through the Virginia Department of Education from their talks between Friday afternoon and today with the governor's office, clarifying a few things. And these are the primary clarifications to that frequently asked question document. One, masks are not required while exercising. That's been in the executive order all along. So if, as it pertains to our students, if students are in the gym exercising, you know, our athletes have been able to choose this year in participating in athletics whether they wore a mask or not. The same is true for kids in physical education classes or out on the playground exercising. They are not required to wear a mask as long as they can maintain 6 feet of social distancing. Masks are not required while eating or drinking. That hasn't changed as long as they can maintain 6 feet of social distancing. And as you know, we've done extraordinary things in our cafeterias and how we've served and provided food to maintain this guidance throughout the year. And masks are not required outdoors on school property if 6 feet of distance can be maintained. That's the clarification that's not clear in the executive order. That is clear in the frequently asked questions that we got as late as this afternoon. So that's the big takeaway, and we will have communicated in a meeting yesterday morning with our principals that we were going to finalize that clarification this afternoon, and we'll notify them in the morning about those details, because these are the things that affect us directly. So if kids are outside playing, they don't have to wear their mask if they can be 6 feet apart, is the takeaway. Yeah.
So is the takeaway too that, and even it's not on school property, but graduation?
Nope, we'll get to graduation in a minute. That's actually different because of the date. This thing gets real. I told you it would be clear as mud when we finish. The last takeaway is that fully vaccinated people on our campuses do not have to wear masks outdoors, period. So that, again, that last bullet is not clear from the executive order, because if you look at D in the executive order, that's what it says. And it doesn't have the disclaimer about fully vaccinated people outside. So those are some things, and those things actually happen every day. So we have our teachers supervising recess and kids playing outside. That teacher who may be fully vaccinated does not have to wear a mask while doing that, for example. That has changed as of Saturday. Now, questions on that part. Again, this went into effect Saturday the 15th and is in effect for the remainder of this school year, which for us ends on the 17th of June. Now, to Ms. Helsel's question, there's a new order that was also issued by the governor on Friday, Executive Order number 79, which goes into effect on the 28th day of May. This order, for all activities, with exception of wearing masks in school, on school property, suspends all other mitigation, COVID mitigation requirements in the state of Virginia. So, for example, graduation, which was the question. That's our next big event after the 28th of May. So for us, what that means is there's no restriction for vaccinated people at the Langley Speedway which means social distancing, mask, no restrictions whatsoever at that event. Now, because the order says we follow CDC guidance, the CDC guidance is only for vaccinated people. So where this gets really, really difficult to interpret is we will have quite a few people at graduation on the 18th, and some of those people will be vaccinated and some of them will not. The problem is we don't know who is vaccinated and who is not. So we will provide the same guidance that as we send out communication about graduation that the CDC has offered. Since it's post 28th of May, so there's no executive order governing that graduation event. It's CDC guidance, which is vaccinated people do not have to wear masks or practice social distancing at that event. That's what that means. But unvaccinated people should wear masks and exercise social distancing at that event, which we will advertise and promote as we prepare for graduation on the 18th of June. Now, I know that's complicated. We've been trying to wade through it. Again, that order was just issued on Friday. The amendment to Executive Order 72 and the new Executive Order 79, which again doesn't go into effect until the 28th. Now, I was on a conference call Friday at 4:30 with the state superintendent and the other superintendents in the state of Virginia in preparation for the governor's announcement, so we would know what was getting ready to happen. And then we had another meeting this morning at 9 o'clock following up on the frequently asked questions. And what happened in the chat room on that conference call was it seemed like every superintendent wanted their graduation date answered. Well, we graduate on June this date. What does that mean for us? We graduate on May this date. What does that mean for us? So the short answer to that is the whole world changes in the state of Virginia on the 28th of May as it relates to graduation ceremonies. Fortunately for us, ours is after the 28th of May, and so we fall in the category of no executive order from the governor governing our graduation. Questions?
Yes, how does that work? So if I'm not vaccinated, I show up there for my kid's graduation like a leper, and I've got to tell people to get away from me. How do you do that?
Very good question. So
you can sit away, and then they move here, and you got to keep moving away rather than trying to get away and succeed it.
Yeah. That's why, and I was reading my news feed over the weekend and this morning, and those are the kinds of comments that everybody's asking, because this has happened all over the country, is we've got this new guidance now, and basically what the new guidance says is we've got two groups of people in the United States, the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. And the vaccinated folks have these set of guidance and expectations, and the unvaccinated have this set. And the challenge is nobody knows who's who. So you can imagine now what, as it pertains to my line of work, when we're trying to have 1,000 people at an event on the 18th from both categories of people, knowing full well that most of our children are not vaccinated or won't be vaccinated by that time, not fully vaccinated, we have a challenge on our hands. So the only thing that's prudent that we know to do is to promote what the CDC says, and that is, if you are vaccinated, you do this. If you are unvaccinated, you do this. And then, as I've seen on everybody's websites, you're on your honor. There's no way for us to police that. That's impossible. So that's the event that's the challenge that we've been presented with this new guidance, and it is causing, as you can imagine, a lot of challenges all over. We had a conversation about tonight. What is the rules for masking in this environment? This is not school property. This belongs to the city of Poquoson. So technically, in the city of Poquoson, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask or exercise social distancing. But if this was owned by Poquoson Public Schools as school property, we would have to wear masks in this environment. So it just gets down to that detail of information right now from these new sets of rules and guidance. So it's a challenge, and like I said at the beginning, I'll clear this up like mud for you. And I hope you're as confused as I am.
The comical thing is that they actually had a single word common sense in the executive order, which is there. None of that is present, but and that single word is not even in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. It's 2 words, so I don't know. They made it up.
Very good point.
Anyway,
Well, thank you.
yeah.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions there?
I just think the key takeaway is that, our students are going to have an opportunity to celebrate their graduation day. I mean,
Right.
our seniors have had so much taken away from them this year and last year. So to have an opportunity to walk across a stage, even in that outdoor setting, I think it's pretty cool.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it is an honor system. You have to self-monitor. Everybody knows what the deal is, and it's up to every individual. Because you're right, there's no way to police that.
There's not, and we're, just to add, we're hopeful that our families who attend graduation will be sensitive to that and respectful of that. And if you're unvaccinated, come prepared to be in a mask and try to keep your distance. And if you are vaccinated, you'll have a little more leniency at that function to feel safe. So we want everybody to be safe and everybody to be healthy and nobody to, catch COVID from our graduation, certainly.
All right, thank you, sir. Next up is financial update with Ms. Woodruff.
Good evening, Chairman Carter and members of the school board. For the finance report, I just have a few brief updates. Last week, City Council approved the school board's funding request for fiscal year 2022 without any changes. So we have no further action needed from the board at this time, and we are very appreciative of the city's support. Staff have begun working on the closeout of fiscal year 2021. We are meeting with the auditors tomorrow for planning for the upcoming audit process. The auditors will begin preliminary work towards the end of June, then they continue throughout the summer in our office, in the schools, and then they return in September for their final field work. We are also preparing for our open enrollment with staff, which is currently being planned for July for our employees to complete their benefit selections for our plan year that starts October 1. As we discussed during the budget process, our current health and dental carriers have provided 2-year rate guarantees, so this is very good news. No increases for our employees or the school division. So that's wonderful news for everyone. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Next up is operations update with Mr. Pappas.
Good evening, school board, Chairman Carter, Superintendent Tillett. So near and dear to my heart, it's obviously food, and I'm pleased to announce that we got some guidance Thursday last that next year all students will be eating for free straight through the year. There's still some things that we have to work out, but that's big news. We're continuing to serve food out of the primary school until the end of the year, and then today I just met with our food service staff, and they're exhausted. So we're going to cease and let them have a rest this summer. But we are still serving food for anybody who wants to pick it up twice a week. Maintenance staff are preparing for summer. We've already got plans to refinish the 2 gym floors. Obviously, the middle school gym floor can't be refinished currently, but those dates have been selected. We've got 2 big RFPs on the street. One, as you know, is the solar project RFP. We've got all sorts of companies are flooding our schools and walking the roofs and checking the ceilings We had one today, we have another one tomorrow, we have another one on Monday. And that RFP, all those RFPs come in for evaluation on June 7th. And today, just before this meeting, Tara and I both received some verbiage relative to our RFP for replacing the field turf at the school. Now, we still have to go through that and vet all that language, but that's ready to go out. Custodial Services is already busy. The principals know when the rooms are going to be cleaned, deep cleaned for the summer. Is there a clicker here? So I thought I would just go through this again. Everybody likes it. This is where we left off last time. You could see the rebar on the right, and that was just the beginning of the foundation, and this is after we filled in what used to be a locker room and the auditorium. And here you see the first layers of the new block at the old auditorium wall. I believe in this image right there, you see the old wall, and then you see the new cinder blocks going up. And then there you got 8 courses of block right there on the left. And what you can see here is this is the floor level of the west wing. Obviously, the west wing is not the east wing, and this used to be called the old wing, and the new wing, which is the east wing, is on the other side going down the road. And now we're going to have a new. So instead of having the old, the new, and the new, we probably should come to terms with the fact that we will have a west wing and an east wing and a central core. And this will help children in our community know that the sun rises down on the east and sets on the west. Here are the footings for the back wall of the new auditorium and laying the block on the same footings. Compacting the floor. You have to realize that when we brought in all of that dirt, and believe me, all is a big number, we brought in, it has to come in layers. They're called lifts, and they're only 7 inches. And every time you lay in a lift, you have to compact it, and that's what holds the building from settling. View of the auditorium. Here's some underfloor conduit, and then there's a view of the new music and auditorium spaces, if you get your bearings. Here is a rain gutter and the foundation of the extension of the old cafeteria. And this is some interior walls of what was the old cafeteria. Now that's going to be a series of classrooms with a corridor, because the cafeteria where students actually eat will be part of the auditoria. And then there's the hallway, and you can just see all the metal studs going down. It's just nice to see. Here is, if you notice these doors, these are the doors that come off of the field at the back of the school, and this was our once most favorite bathroom to show all visiting people. This was the lobby, and now that is being completely demolished and going to be turned into something that commands the respect that we need to give ourselves and our guests. And here you see the restroom demo itself. That's about what needed to happen there for sure. Here, as of yesterday, you can see that they're cutting in between the east wing, and the west wing, so that we can connect the two with the core, the central core, because that was one of the big things, that we needed to have handicap access on both floors. We're going to have an elevator, And now we're busting through what used to be an outside wall because the central core was only one story where the library was, and the west and east wings were 2 stories. And that concludes my operations report.
Questions for Mr. Pappas? An instructional update with Dr. Fox.
Good evening, Chairman Carter, Vice Chair Sheeler, board members, and Mr. Tillett. Tonight I'm going to share information with you related to the current grants that we have in Poquoson. We try to give you an update a couple times a year, and also wanted to give you a quick update on our virtual learning program for next year. As you know, we've talked many times about our Department of Defense educational activity grants that we have. One of those, unfortunately, is ending this year. Our project-based learning grant ends in June. Mrs. Emily Forrest has done an exceptional job this year of taking over that grant and adapting it to meet the needs of this unique school year. Our work on this grant has included training and supporting teachers on how to integrate project-based learning into the classroom. Our funds have also been used to support the purchase of additional computer hardware and software, student manipulatives, and other resources needed to support project-based learning in our classrooms. This year, we redistributed our funds to purchase hands-on activities for students to use at home or at school. Examples include providing art supplies for at-home projects, Gizmos math and science software, a social media marketing simulation for the marketing classes at the high school, and choice books for our 6th and 7th grade students. Moving forward, our work is going to focus on sustaining the project-based learning grant through activities such as continuing our collaboration with 2 other school divisions to develop performance-based assessments in English. We're going to continue to train staff to implement PBL at the K-5 level, and we're going to bring back our K-12 instructional showcase and our PBL ambassador groups once we can have those larger events again. We are also going to continue to increase the use of instructional technology to enhance instruction. Our other grant that we have, our tiered systems of support, we have 2 grants that are running simultaneously to support those interventions. And tiered systems of support, just as a reminder, is a system where data is used to establish specific interventions and supports to help students in the areas of academics, behaviors, and social emotional well-being. The DODEA tiered system of support is a $500,000 5-year grant. We're in year 3 of that grant. This year, our focus has been on providing at-home learning for students, providing stipends for teachers and staff to participate in K-3 letters training and professional development on the science of reading. We've also spent time surveying teachers on the perceptions of tiered systems of support in their buildings, virtual learning, and the use of instructional technology in our classrooms. Our Virginia Tiered Systems of Support grant is a yearly grant from the Virginia Department of Education. We have used those resources to again provide literacy interventions and materials for a third grade pilot that will align with our summer academy programs that we're offering. We have focused on student and staff social emotional needs, and we supported our family engagement project, which was called Food for Thought Crockpot Drive. This was a lot of fun. Teachers and staff have submitted easy and inexpensive recipes that you can cook in a crockpot. Our high school marketing class has made a cookbook from those recipes, and we're going to provide a cookbook and a crockpot to needy families around Poquoson. So our thanks to the high school teachers and students for their support of this project. It's been a great experience for everybody. We do have one outstanding DODEA grant that's still there. If you recall, this time last spring, we told you we had submitted the application for a $750,000 grant that we were calling Full Steam Ahead, Access, Exposure, Exploration, and Engagement for All Students. Due to COVID, that funding was put on hold through the fall. We were notified earlier this year that they were reopening that, and our application was still active. At this point, we have not been notified one way or the other, so we're still keeping our fingers crossed that we may be awarded that $750,000 grant, which would also be another 5-year grant for us. And finally, we just wanted to give you a quick update. Last week, an email went out to all of our Poquoson online families with information about our virtual learning program for next year. We shared that information with you last month. The survey is due back tomorrow, so if there are any parents out there from Poquoson Online who haven't submitted their information, we would ask you to do that. Submitting the survey is not a formal commitment to the program. It's just giving us a sense of how many people may be interested in virtual learning next year, because that ties into our planning. We're currently at about a 60% response rate. Our schools are reaching out to those families who have not completed the survey. And right now, we're sitting at about 14 students who have indicated a preference next year. 2 of those at the K-5 level, and the other 12 are at the 6 to 12 level. Those applications, the formal commitment to the program requires a submission of an application and a parental permission agreement. Those are due to us on June 14th, and that would signify then your official commitment, and we'll review the application and let you know whether or not your child's been accepted into the program for next school year. Anybody who needs information, it is posted on our webpage under the Parents and Students tab. There's a separate virtual learning tab there. And that concludes my report this evening, Dr. Carter.
I have questions, yes.
Dr. Fox, for the potential for just say a military family moving into the area that arrives July, I assume that there is a process and procedure that they could then follow even as late as July to take place with the virtual learning platform?
Yeah, we would have them follow the same process. We'd have them review the information, submit the application and the permissions. We've already coordinated with Virtual Virginia that they will, under certain circumstances, allow people to register after the July 15th date. So military move-in transfer students is one of those exceptions. Mm-hmm.
Has there been any talk about selling the crock-pot cookbook?
I hear Dr. Carter saying he would be interested in a crock pot for about $150 per book. No, I'm just kidding. I do not know the answer to that, but I will find out, and I'm sure we can make it available to anybody who might be interested in it. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody? Okay, great. Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much, Dr. Fox. Do we have any public comment tonight?
Yes, sir, we do. Ms. Jessica Firth.
Okay. Thank you. And Ms. Firth, we just ask you to limit it to 4 minutes and 3 minutes. I'm sorry.
You said 4.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Good evening. My name is Jessica Firth. I assume you all know my name well by now, and for good reason. I care about my children's education very much, so much so that I made the decision to disenroll my sons last year to pursue homeschooling until schools reopened. I made this decision for several different reasons. The first being that my son has special learning needs, my oldest son. Virtual was not a great option for him because of his learning challenges. The second reason I made this decision was because I'm a firefighter paramedic who happens to work for the city of Poquoson. I work 24-hour shifts, and logging into virtual at certain times was going to pose a problem because of the unpredictability of my shift work schedule. My mother watches my children for me when I am on shift. She struggles with technology, and we decided this issue, coupled with my son's learning challenges, that buying hands-on book curriculum would be better for our personal situation. I was advised at the time that I signed and submitted the notice of intent to homeschool and all the other appropriate paperwork to the schools that we would be able to re-enroll to schools with no problem whenever the schools reopened for in-person. When I found out in February that 4-day-a-week in-person was being considered, I was hopeful. When I called to re-enroll my sons to kindergarten and 3rd grade, I was told that because we chose homeschool, that we would only be offered the virtual option. When I asked why, I was told a number of different reasons, to name a few, because we committed to a full year of homeschooling. We signed no contract to homeschool, and we were even told if this was any other normal school year, that they could be readmitted to in-person school without concern. Another reason was that spacing is an issue. We also heard that the budget wouldn't allow for adding my children back to in-person. Those were several of the reasons. When I asked what the situation would be if a child from another school district moved to Poquoson or a military family got ordered to move to Poquoson, what would their options be? I was told that they would be given the option of virtual or in-person. So, a child whose parents pay taxes in this city don't have the right to re-enroll their child to in-person learning, but someone moving into the city can have that option. My 3rd grader has a 504, and I can't stress enough how much he needs to have in-person learning. I feel as though we are being discriminated against because we chose to homeschool, a decision that was made for the best interest of my child, a decision that I feel like this school system is lacking for a lot of children in this city. I am appalled at the lack of planning and the common sense consideration that was not utilized when making plans for reopening. To make special considerations for other students, but not for students who have learning disabilities who chose to homeschool for that reason is just not okay. It's flat out wrong. My name might be a familiar one to you because of my husband, whose family has lived here for many generations, but I can guarantee that this Hampton-raised Bethel graduate and move-in is going to be the reason you remember my first name as well. Three key words that stuck out to me with the other speakers today. The common sense one. That one was for the planning, whoever said that earlier. The second one was command respect. I like that. And the third one was social and emotional well-being. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Firth. Consent agenda. Ms. Sheila, please walk us through the consent agenda.
Yes, the consent agenda has 5 items. The approval of financial reports, the approval of personnel action, the authorization to change appropriations and to accept and expend funds in accordance with the request, approval of minutes of the April's regular meeting, and authorization for the superintendent to sign a renewal contract with Aramark for food service management.
Thank you, ma'am. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second? Second. Ms. Reimers?
Mr. Freeman.
Aye.
Mr. Ingram.
Aye.
Mr. Jordan.
Aye.
Mr. Holcomb.
Aye.
Ms. Hessel.
Aye.
Vice Chair Sheeler.
Aye.
Chairman Carter. Motion passes 6, 1 abstention.
Ma'am, and other matters for consideration of approval of revision to the 2020-2021 calendar. Mr. Tillett.
Yes, as it says in the meeting file, if you'll recall, we ended this calendar twice already, once in, I believe, in doing so, we changed teacher work days. 3rd, I believe, of November, and the second one on January the 29th, from a teacher work day, one being scheduled for parent conferences, and the other for teacher work day, to instructional days. As you know, we believe strongly in instructional days. And we can convert a day that we didn't necessarily specific task for our teachers on a work day. We converted 2 of those to instructional days. Then we had built in our 181-day calendar for instruction an inclement weather, which fortunately for us this year, we had a mild winter and did not have an inclement weather day, although some would suggest, based on emails I received, that one day when we had some snow flurries, it should have been an inclement weather day. So I've taken that point to heart, and we did have a virtual day, as you recall, and that day counts as instructional day this year in Virginia due to COVID. So we are recommending to the board that we convert the current calendared last day of school, which is the 18th day of June, which was scheduled as a half day, to a non-instructional day, and give back that inclement weather day that was built in the calendar. As you know, the last day of school is far from a productive instructional day. It'll also give us a great opportunity as we're graduating in a new facility that evening to have our staff focused on that and moving furniture and desks, chairs, and prepare for that big day. So we're recommending that we convert the planned inclement weather day to a non-instructional day on the 18th day of June. Staff will be much appreciative. This doesn't, as some have asked in this conversation of adjusting the calendar, have any impact on our staff's contract work. And contract work days. Those days were converted from work days to instructional days, but there's still staff on the clock for those days. So that question came up. I want to clarify that. This change has no impact on contract work for our employees.
Thanks, sir. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Does anybody have any questions, comments there? Ms. Reimers?
Mr. Freeman.
Aye.
Mr. Ingram.
Aye.
Mr. Jordan.
Aye.
Mr. Holcomb. Ms. Hessel.
Aye.
Vice Chair Sheeler.
Aye.
Chairman Carter.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, ma'am. And communications, Ms. Tillett, do you have any additional comments, sir?
One last thing, I do want to have a shout out about our vaccination clinic in partnership with the city of Poquoson, which will happen tomorrow from 3 to 7 at Poquoson High. So any students age 16 through 18 who would like to be vaccinated, we already have, I think, around 106 scheduled. Is that right? Maybe it's up. It was 106 this morning. Ashley's given me the up sign, which we think is really good news. That is available tomorrow from 3 to 7, and then we are planning another day. We are told we'll be able to include students ages 12 to 16 as soon as next week. So we're working on the details of that. I'm looking over at Ashley again. I don't know that we have it refined yet, or do we?
Tomorrow is actually open to 12.
Oh, we changed that. Okay. So I'm glad everybody listening out in the city of Poquoson, it's 12 and up tomorrow, 12 to 18. We would love for you to consider that, and it is at Poquoson High from 3 to 7. And we will be planning with the city additional clinics. We're hopeful. The goal is to have as many of our constituents, our staff and students, vaccinated as possible when we open school on the 7th of September. That's our most positive move to having normal school next year, we've been told by everyone. So just a shameless plug there to have as many folks consider that as possible. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Cassidy, take it away.
Poquoson Primary School celebrates our staff as the first week of May was Staff and Teacher Appreciation Week. Our entire staff has been dedicated to providing the best to our students each day, even during this challenging year. Our PTO knocked it out of the park with a baseball-themed Appreciation Week to thank you during Staff Appreciation Week. Our PTO provided grab-and-go breakfasts, a catered lunch, snack baskets, notepads, and shared notes of thanks for everyone's hard work. Our PTO even shared a special gift with our SRO, Officer Biggs, for his help with our new traffic patterns during arrival and dismissal. Poquoson Primary is so grateful for the support of our PTO. Also, please remember our kindergarten registration for the 2021 through 2022 school year is open, and information is found on our school and division website. Please call Poquoson Primary Office with any questions regarding kindergarten. First week of May was Resilience Week. PES focused on mindfulness, positive relationships, purpose, self-awareness, and self-care by starting the day with a morning meeting and message with a quote to help think about what they were celebrating on each particular day. Each lesson included a story or video that was a great discussion starter. Following Resilience Week, we had our annual Spirit Week where students and staff dressed in different attire to get our energy and excitement revved up for the SOL tests. We are in the process of administering SOL tests to our students, and it is going very smoothly. A big thank you to Transportation for arranging for buses to pick up the Poquoson Online students and bring them to school for testing. A big hug goes out to our PES, PTO, and PEF who are always looking out for our staff with a lot of surprises. Life is good at PES. On Thursday, May 13th, Poquoson Middle School Library held a book giveaway event for all 8th grade students. There was a large selection of brand new titles for students, and each person was able to choose one to keep and add to their home collection. This same event was held last month for 6th and 7th grade students with grant funding provided by the Project-Based Learning Committee and the Poquoson Education Foundation. We hope the free books will inspire students to continue reading throughout the summer months and into the years ahead. Past month has been a busy one for the Poquoson High School community. Congratulations to our students for completing their workplace readiness and SOL writing examinations, and best of luck with SOL testing this week, as well as preparation for AP exams and continued CTE credentialing exams. In addition to many major assessments over the past month, students have performed excerpts from Romeo and Juliet in English 9, collaborated on graffiti, review walls in history classes, and created intricate projects in pottery. We celebrated the future of the class of 2021 with Decision Day. This provided a time to honor the next steps our graduates will take, whether to the career world, trade schools, military, or four-year college program. We look forward to continuing the celebration of our graduates with Senior Day on June 4th, followed by our commencement ceremony on June 18th at 6 p.m. at Langley Speedway. Later this week, we will welcome the Virginia State Police to lead their interactive driver awareness program with our students in driver's education, and the following week we will induct our newest members to the National Honor Society. It is an exciting time of year, and we wish all of our Islanders much success as they conclude the school year, and thank our families, the school board, and the local community for their continued support.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Freeman.
I have a couple of things tonight. I don't usually talk long since it's going to be out of church. But I had the opportunity to do some school visits with Mr. Tillett the week or so after spring break. And I was very impressed with what I saw. And one of the things, we took some flack on social media and in the community for doing the 4-day school week. But boy, howdy, that planning day is very much paying off. And the things I saw in the classroom, that was one of the best decisions we have made as a board this year. The teachers, they're just loving it, and they're really taking advantage of that planning time and doing just a tremendous job with it. So the lessons that we saw when we were going through, I mean, it was just like every box, bang, bang, bang. So good job with that. And I encourage our staff to try to find ways to incorporate that in more permanent in next year or years following, which I think is very doable. Congratulations to our field hockey team. I think I counted as they were coming across the screen that 12 players are coming back. So that's very good for us next year. We should have another run at it.
That's real good.
Cassidy, great job. Been a pleasure sitting beside you last year, so good luck in the future. I'd like to also thank a vital part of our school system that's often overlooked. And they do a tremendous job, and without their work, we wouldn't be nearly as successful as we are, and that's our school nurses. Particularly this year. They have probably put over 1,800 shots in arms at the convention center through the vaccination clinics. And just, you know, it's a lot more to the job than just getting the ice pack and a Band-Aid. So nurses, if you're watching, thank you very much. Appreciate everything you've done. And that's all I got.
Just congratulations to the high school senior of the month. Congratulations to the field hockey team. This year, and I believe this is their first title.
His first time ever.
Yeah. Congratulations to that. And Cassidy, you got a heck of a resume, and you hadn't even started, out in the real world yet. So you're going to be really successful, and just keep up your hard work.
Again, congratulations to our field hockey team. Mr. Freeman and I were actually in attendance that night, and was a very exciting game. Came right down to the wire. So a lot of energy and passion and emotion. And unfortunately, there's a winner and loser in sports when you get to that level. And ironically, that was our neighbor Tav right up the road. So
which made it better.
I think there were 500 spectators available to be in attendance that night, and there were every bit of 500. So exciting time for our students there. Cassie, best of luck to you. Very distinguished resume already, and we'll look for seeing you in the future doing bright things. As Mr. Freeman alluded to, the nurses, I actually wanted to touch base on our outstanding bus drivers that have been incredibly diligent. I see Miss Julie when she arrives at my house every morning picking up my daughter. She has a smile even through that mask. They've been exceptional transporting our kids and spending extra time, and Pappas does a great job assembling that group of drivers. So they've been very vital to our success this year as a school. Best of luck to our upcoming seniors. I say it every year at this time. Don't make the mistake and check out in advance. A good friend of mine many years ago elected to do that and found that his scholarship was rescinded, and it really impacted his decision to move forward, with selecting a college. So hang in there the next 16 days, and I'm sure our teachers and staff are excited that we've now lost a day of school. Makes up for that non-flurry day that we missed. So thanks.
I used to get to go first, Craig, so I used to get to see all the cool stuff first, and now I just got to say, I reiterate you guys, and thank you so much for saying all you said. Really glad about graduation this year, even though it's my competitor, Larry King, who's getting the credit out there at the Langley Speedway. I hate that, but I'm glad we can get together, and do this thing, and I hope we can work out the whole 6-foot thing, and who's who, and it'll be fun. But we will be there. Good point, Jeremy, earlier, that we'll be there. That's the most important thing. So, and I just want to say again, I think I said it last month to the community, thank you again for your patience through all this. It's getting better a step at a time. I think we've done the best we can do. Mr. Tillett, thank you for your leadership this year on these issues that have just kept us, I think, on that wave, head of the curve a bit, and it's just been, it's worked out well, so thank you very much.
I don't know about y'all, but I don't remember learning about John Quincy Adams' alligator in the bathtub. I had to look it up, and it was true. I guess I missed that day. I agree with everything that's been said. Cassidy, you've been great. Dr. Carter mentioned all of your inspirational speeches have been wonderful. A couple of things with sports. I know y'all talked about field hockey. Best of luck to all of our spring sports as they conclude over the next few weeks. So hopefully it goes well. Also to Dr. Sayag, thank you for everything. I know she's going to be a big loss at the high school, but I'm sure she's going to do amazing at her new role. And thanks. I see the long list of teachers and paraprofessionals that are going to be working summer school, so that's wonderful. We definitely appreciate your support with that, and I wish you a great last few weeks of school.
Yes, I want to thank all who have contributed to keeping our students and staff as safe as possible this past school year. It's certainly been a challenge. Special thanks to Dr. Ashley Royer for facilitating the testing program, which will keep us safe next year. Cassidy, it's been really a delight having you on the board. I will miss you, and I will look forward to hearing of your successes in the future.
Mr. Holcomb, I feel your pain of every.
For the last, haven't you?
I've gone for 6 years.
That's
Dead
right,
last.
for 6 years. That's right.
But Cassidy, again, your inspirational readings have it's exceptional this year. Even tonight, you brought up. Look for the good. Find the good in every situation, and it is a choice. You can either dwell on the negative and woe is me and all these bad things, or you can look for and zero in on the good in those situations. That was just it's hard. It's very difficult to do that all the time. As a matter of fact, I don't know if anybody does it all the time, but if you know that that's what you really want to do and that's what you're choosing to do, you catch yourself not doing that, you can get yourself back in line. So, that's the one thing that stood out to me tonight. So I appreciate that, and I wish you the best. Thanks to everybody who has just jumped in and pulled it all together and made this year June almost. Almost. That's what we're looking for. So hang in there. 16 more school days, so we're almost done. Any material for review, Mr. Ivers? No, sir, we do not. Well, thank y'all, and with that, we will adjourn.